Let's check it out over here. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Comic Shop Talk Live, brought to you by Black Hat Comics and Rockin' Milpitas, your one-stop shop for all things superhero. Shop online at black-cat-comics.com. We keep you connected to the comic book community. I'm your host, Mark Causey. As you can see, my partner is not here today. Francie's off doing her own thing, so you're stuck with me for the next hour. This is an interactive show, so feel free to throw your questions, comments, concerns, queries about the comic book world, and I will do my best to answer those conundrums for you. Got a great show for you today. A lot of books I'm really excited about. Going to talk some new this week. Going to talk a little bit of all kinds of things today because that's what we do here. It's Comic Shop Talk Live. Always like to start the show with a little comic shop news. Comic shop news. And this week we've got some big comic shop news. So if you are on the email list or if you follow the newsletter, you have heard about our reopening plans. Black Cat Comics has been online only at black-cat-comics.com for the past year now. And as things begin to loosen up, lighten up, as we anticipate getting vaccinated, and you all getting vaccinated any minute now, we are talking about getting back open, and that's a whole lot of fun. There's a whole lot to it. There's a long and short of it. If, like I say, you want to sign up for the email, you want to go to the webpage and check out all the specifics. The gist of it is that we're opening back up in May. Appointment only. We're going to have in-store appointments very similar to our curb. Shopping appointments, which we're expanding. You can be here virtually, you can be here in person, or if you're on the fly, we're going to keep our curbside pickups because lots of folks like the curbside. They just want to show up and grab their books and go. And you can do that too. So we're real excited about that. And again, it'd be real simple to make your appointments just like you do with your curbsides and everything else. So why are we doing it by appointment? What's the deal with all of that? Why don't you just open? There's a number of reasons for it. First and foremost, it's about your experience. I think having a bit more of a one customer at a time, sort of a boutique thing, allows me to provide you, the in-store customer, my full attention. If you're ever here on a Wednesday and you're watching me ring up 20 people and there's a whole lot going on here, and there's people, that have questions and have concerns, needs, whatever, that I can address because I have the fortunate problem of a lot of people in the store. So I want to give each and every one of my customers my full attention. And I want each and every one of my customers to have full access to everything in the store at their leisure and at their convenience. So like I say, first and foremost, it's about your experience. Secondly, frankly, I'm the only one here. And I'm trying to keep it all together. The other guys had other jobs when the pandemic hit. They went to their real jobs, and Francie runs a whole other business. She's doing her thing, and so I had to find a way to be open but be able to do everything myself. So taking you all on one at a time is the best way that I can do that. And there's lots and lots of other reasons, and we're very flexible, open to change as time goes on, but this is for the short term, something that we think works for all concerned. So we're real excited about that. Going to roll that out in May. Again, sign up for the newsletter, keep up with these videos or with the Facebook page, the website, all that kind of stuff for more specific information. The other comic shop news, big comic shop news, is this guy. This is Black Cat Chronicles #1, Greyfriars Cemetery. I'm a little sorry Francie's not here for the massive intro, as it is in mine very soon. This was the proof copy that they sent to us. We approved the proof. Going to go pick up the copies, the bookmarks, the stickers, all that kind of stuff. Real excited about that. As you can see, the awesome cover. We posted this yesterday. We're excited. Thank you so much to everyone program. If you didn't participate in the Kickstarter program, you can get your copy at black-cat-comics.com or black-cat-publishing.com. I would suggest going to black-cat-publishing.com just to familiarize yourself with the site. There's a few other packages for sale, different things. It's a lot of fun. But obviously, we're, again, super excited about this. This is our first endeavor into comics. And order your copy now. They're already going fast. The supply of the prints are already going fast. Don't miss out. The book is gorgeous. I don't want to show any of the interior anymore. You guys just have to pick it up and check it out. It's awesome. Very excited about it. So that's Comic Shop News. And now we're going to get into every part of the show, which is first issues, of course, are always a thing with the fans. Everybody loves reading first issues. That's your exciting. DC first issues rolling out. They have new jump-in points, pretty much title-wide. Everybody knows everything went on a very brief hiatus during the Future State stuff. All that has wrapped up, and now you're getting, again, new first issues and jump-in points for all your favorite DC stuff, new DC books rolling out. So it's, and among other things, there's lots of new number ones to talk about, lots of jump-in points to talk about this week. So that's a whole lot of fun. Gotta start with this guy, with the Joker. B or C cover, I don't know. But very cool. Usually just go with the A covers on the show, though. So obviously this book's awesome for 1,000 reasons. I mean, you know, is there a more popular villain in comics? Is there a more popular character in comics? Is there a more well-known villain in pop culture? I don't know. Everybody knows the Joker. And I love when villains get their own books. It doesn't happen very often. The Joker had a book, had his own title way back in the 1970s. That ran for just a little while. It's a personal favorite of mine, mostly just because the covers are awesome. There's a gorgeous Joker Catwoman cover. I think it's issue number 3. There's a Creeper cover. So anyway, Joker doesn't have his own book very often. Villains don't get their own book very often. So this was really cool. And second, it's written by current Batman writer James Tynion IV, who is on fire right now. If you didn't already know, he's one of the top writers in comics. Batman is always one of the top selling books in comics. So why not take the top selling writer and the top selling book and give Joker his own book? So don't want to go too much into it, because the whole point of first issues is to, you know, check them out for yourself. But I always like to show you some of that cool art. Great art in this book. It's kind of a Commissioner Gordon story. Again, I don't want to say too much about it. I know the internet is already very spoilerific on everything, so I don't go into too much detail. But that's some pretty spiffy art. Let's see who our team here is. Well, anywho, Joker in his own title. Super awesome. And it's got a little backup story. All the new DC things have backup stories. Everybody loves backup stories. And this one's got a punchline story. Everybody's crazy about punchline these days. So this book is a no-brainer, is a can't miss. You probably already picked it up, or it's in your box, or it's on the way to your house as we speak. I hope so, because, like I say, just really great to see Joker in his own title. And obviously it's going to be dark and be kind of heavy, but really fun. And real quick, though, I'll mention some of the other backup stories. I love backup features because, among many things, it really spotlights what makes comics great and what makes comics fun. You don't need 200 pages. You don't need 612 issues to tell a great comic story. A great graphic sequential art story can be told in 1 page, 2 pages, 5 pages. So backup features are a lot of fun. When I was a kid, backup features were a big deal. It was the only way you saw Green Lantern, Aquaman, a lot of the I hesitate to say B-list, but let's be honest, some of the, you know, not top tier DC characters showed up most often in backup features. So that's really cool. And it's a nice, especially at standard cover price, it's a nice bonus. So Joker number 1, Superman number 29. You know, I'm a huge Superman fan. I love the Brian Michael Bendis run. Going to talk a little more about Bendis at the end of the show, but this is your jump-in point for the next big story arc. If you're someone who's for some reason not reading Superman, now is your time to jump in. If you're someone who shied away from the Brian Michael Bendis stuff, now's your time to come back to Superman. Whoever you are, a general open invitation to all books. I'm always talking about jump in on those first issues, jump in whenever the new creative team takes over. Two things I say to all my regulars. One, if you're following a book and you're loving that book and your creative team leaves, for example, I was loving the Brian Michael Bendis Superman stuff. When your creative team leaves, stick with the book. Give the book 1 issue, 2 issues. See what the new folks do. Give the new team a try. If you don't like it, hey, that's perfectly fine. That's your prerogative. If you do like it, even better, you're still reading your favorite comic. And just encourage folks not to drop something just because your writer and artist leaves. Give the new team a chance. So here's your opportunity to give a new team a chance. Also, same thing applies if for whatever reason you don't like a character, don't read a character, try the new creative team. Maybe they'll convince you. Something else I'll say on a side note. This is Phil Hester. You might remember Phil Hester from doing Green Arrow with Kevin Smith quite a few years ago. That was a lot of fun. Just some fast-paced, action-packed art. Bringing up a little bit of, something I say all the time, another thing I tell my regulars all the time, don't take my word for it and don't take the internet's word for it. Last week I had a conversation about Ron Garni and the art in Berserker. I like Ron Garni because he has action-based art, meaning art that keeps your eye moving. You look at the panel, you get it, and you move on because lots of things are happening and it's fast-paced. He's the kind of artist that doesn't linger on one panel. He, gives you the idea and you move on. And I like that kind of punchy, fast-paced stuff. Some folks don't like that because for all kinds of reasons. As we said, I like him. Francie wasn't so crazy about the art last week. And that's comics. That's how everything is. I say all the time, the reader gets to that page and there's the reveal and one reader says, oh man, I can't believe they did that. And another reader says, oh man, that was awesome. And you don't know which reader you are until you try it. So try things out. It's perfectly fine to not like stuff, but you don't know whether you like it or not unless you try it out, which brings me to the next one, which is Wonder Woman number 770. Again, a new jump-in point, new backup feature, all kinds of reasons to try out Wonder Woman. This, along with the Superbooks, something I've been pushing for a long, long time. Wonder Woman has been top-notch and very solid for a long, long time. And it seems like every new creative team that jumps in, I don't want to say gets even better, is just as good as the one before. And so you can go back to the beginning of Rebirth, go back to the current volume 1, or just dive into this part 1 first issue. It's a great time to be a Wonder Woman fan. Becky Cloonan's part of this book, and everybody loves anything that Becky Cloonan does. Again, quick show of the art. It's not too spoilerific if it's the title page, right? And you see some cool, artistic license going on there. Just really fun stuff. Again, line wide, it's a good time to try a DC book. If you used to like that character, jump back in. If you never read that character, jump in. This week it's Superman and Wonder Woman. Next week it'll be Catwoman and Justice League. I was going to hold till the end of the show. We'll talk about next week. But next week, Bendis takes over Justice League, and that's going to be really awesome. I'm a big fan of Bendis. He's sort of, polarizing. There are people that love Bendis and people that don't love Bendis. I think he's really great for team books. I loved his Avengers run. And so I'm looking forward to seeing him take over all the icons that is Justice League. And so, again, next week, great time to jump into Catwoman, great time to jump into Justice League. My last DC book for the week is this guy, Batman Urban Legends, another number 1, because you guys love your Bat books, and there's never enough Bat books on your list, never enough Bat books on the shelf. This one's a little pricey. It's $7.99, but it's a cool anthology, different creative teams, different characters. There's one lead story, and then there's going to be backup stories that change. Can't show you that page, but I can't show you that one either. Well, there's a little bit of Harley Quinn for you. Everybody wants to see Harley and Ivy, right? So that's all you need to drop $7.99, isn't it? So great week for trying some DC stuff. Again, if you're a DC fan, you're in heaven because there's all kinds of great stuff rolling at you. If you're not a DC fan, here's an opportunity to convince you to try some stuff out. Is there any characters in all of pop culture or all of fiction bigger, more famous than Batman, the Joker, Wonder Woman, and Superman? I mean, there's a reason Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman are the Trinity. There's a reason the Joker is the greatest villain in all of comics. I mean, that's 4 books you just can't go wrong with. So give those a try this week. Again, this is interactive, so I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what's on the top of your stack this week. What did you like last week? What are you looking forward to reading? What's in your box? What's at the top of your stack? What's your favorite books? What questions do you have about the moving and shaking in the world of comics? Lay it on me, because otherwise I'm just going to keep rolling. So let's keep rolling now. The Marvel guys. Some of my favorite books this week, some of my favorite books to talk about this week, and some exciting things to talk about this week. First of all, going to start with the webhead. Going to start with Amazing Spider-Man number 61. This book totally sold out and has already gone to reprint. I have been talking this up, boy, for the longest time, certainly since number 55. That was the beginning of the last arc. This is the beginning of the newest arc. So if you're one of the 3 people on planet Earth that's not reading Spider-Man, take the advice of everyone else. And when the reprint comes back, or if you can dig one up this week, find yourself an Amazing number 61. It's one of the best books in comics, one of the best books Marvel does. A theme I have been talking a lot about across Marvel books, and it sort of started with this one, but I'll say the same thing when I get to Daredevil. Iron Man, the new run of Iron Man is definitely that book. And there's a kind of essence of back to basics of your familiar character in a new environment that I'm really, really enjoying. These are classic Marvel kinds of stories that we're getting in Amazing Spider-Man and Daredevil in most of their core titles. I've been saying there's 2 things when a new creative team takes over. There's one of 2 choices that the editor or that creative team can make. You can either continue in the vein that the book has been going in, because maybe it's selling well, maybe it's popular, maybe you have a great idea that goes along with what the previous team has been doing. So you're staying, it's tastes great, so you're just going to keep going. Okay, that's fine. The other choice you can make is bold new direction. Okay, the previous creative team has been doing this for 60 issues. It's time to do something totally different, give the readers something fresh and new. Either of those choices is fine. But Marvel's been on the B for quite a while. They've been radicalizing, changing everything up. The character you've known is now new and different. Tony Stark's dead, and now he's an AI program. Okay, and that was fun. That was like Superior Spider-Man that they did over the years. Okay, now Doc Ock is Peter Parker's dead, and now Doc Ock is Spider-Man. Okay, great. And then that's all fine. But now we've gotten back to the core. Now we've gotten back to Peter Parker doing his thing, Tony Stark doing his thing. But it's not stories that you've read 1,000 times. It's just that they're changing. They're giving you new stories about the world, not new stories. They're not changing your hero. They're changing your hero's world. And like I say, that's what made Marvel great in the first place. And it's just fun to read again. Peter taking on the Green Goblin and taking on the Kingpin, but with, nuance and layers that you haven't seen before. So it's my long way of saying Amazing Spider-Man is as good as it's been in a long, long time. So pick up those trade paperbacks or just jump into the recent issue. And while you're doing so, don't miss out on Nonstop Spider-Man. Because like all those things I said about DC just a minute ago, definitely apply to any first issue of a Spider-Man book. If you saw the Wednesday video, I referenced Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, Marvel Team Up. Spidey has a long, long history of second titles. And now we got Nonstop Spider-Man. In fact, I was going to save this one for a little later too, but I'll segue again in just a minute as I wrap this up. So the point of Nonstop Spider-Man is exactly what the title is. It's just action-packed. There's no like romance side story. It's just Peter Parker, the Amazing Spider-Man, doing his thing. Everybody loves Spidey. Spidey is one of those characters that you can put in any kind of situation. He can be in Atlantis. He can be on Mars. He can be back in the past. He can be in the distant future. He can be anywhere you want him to be. And it's a great story. And now they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at him. So while you're picking up Amazing, one of the best books in comics, pick up Nonstop Spider-Man #1, because everybody needs more Spider-Man in their life. And while you're at it, while we're on the subject of second Spider-Man titles, this is a giant trade paperback for the McFarlane 1990s run of Spider-Man. Todd McFarlane, of course, went from this to Spawn and changed the world of comics with that. If you're maybe not 100 years old like me, if you're, in your 20s, 30s, you might remember this cover from when you were a kid. This was a really, really big deal back in the day. Todd was doing Amazing Spider-Man. It was the biggest thing in the world. He was the biggest thing in comics, so they gave him his own title just called Spider-Man, or what we lovingly referred to as adjectiveless Spider-Man, because it's always got to have an adjective, right? Like Amazing Spider-Man or Nonstop Spider-Man. So then they gave us adjectiveless Spider-Man. This is a giant trade, collects 1 through 14 and 16 and an issue of X-Force. If you love Todd McFarlane like everybody does, if you remember this book from back in the day, for whatever reason, if you just love Spider-Man, this is $40 or $39.99, well spent. So plenty of some webhead action to keep you busy this week. Where are my Spider-Man fans at? Where's my Spider-Man fans? Chris, you out there? I know it's a good week for you. Okay, so other of my favorite titles. I mentioned Daredevil. And this is a little bit of both of the situations I described a minute ago, which is, it's a little bit of Daredevil back to basics. Daredevil is, fighting crime on the streets of New York and Daredevil and whatever. But it's not the Daredevil It's someone else, as you can tell there on the cover. That looks like a female Daredevil. Don't want to say too much. You probably already know. It happened a couple issues ago. But if you aren't reading Daredevil, go back to number 25, catch up to this week's 28. Or pick up the Daredevil by Zdarsky Volume 1. He's just doing a bang-up job on this. And like I say, it's a lot like Amazing Spider-Man, a lot like Iron Man. It's the Matt Murdock the Matt Murdock you've always known and loved, living in the dark side of New York City that you've always known and loved. But the circumstances of his life are always moving and shaking. The circumstances of his life are always collapsing around him, because that's what it's like to be Matt Murdock. And yes, it's the Kingpin. Yes, like say, it's some of the characters that you've seen 1,000 times, but it's events and circumstances that you haven't seen before, because they come out as a result of all the stuff that has happened before. It's sort of an embracing of the years and years of continuity that each character establishes. And if you love continuity like me, then that's a whole lot of fun. So Daredevil, one of their best. Immortal Hulk, one of my favorite books. This is kind of the other side, the not back to basic side. They took the Immortal Hulk. Well, maybe it's a little like Daredevil. It's kind of a mix. Originally, the Incredible Hulk was meant to be kind of a horror story, meant to be kind of a Jekyll and Hyde thing. And Immortal Hulk gets back to that. Gets back to just why it's terrible to be Bruce Banner, why nobody would want to be Bruce Banner. Everybody wants to be the Hulk. Nobody wants to be Bruce Banner. And if you read Immortal Hulk, you kind of don't want to be the Hulk either. But it's a great title. And if you remember Agent Gyrick, or however you say his name, classic Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. I always say this issue is worth it just for the Alex Ross covers. $4 Alex Ross covers are always bonus. The title of the series will be wrapping up. I think they're going to wrap it up at issue number 50. This is issue 44. So it's the beginning of the end. But if that little action scenario doesn't make you want to read the issue, then I'm not doing my job. That's good stuff. I've loved this from the very beginning. I've said I'm not, traditionally speaking, a huge Hulk fan. I love the Peter David McFarlane stuff like everybody. I love, Planet Hulk, but don't always read Hulk. But I picked up issue number 1 of Immortal just again for the Alex Ross covers, and it has totally held me for the last 43 issues. So that's great stuff. Again, just dive into the recent issue or grab the trade paperback to volume 1, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And just to do a little speed round through all of the others, if Francie were here, she would be telling you about Norse mythology, because we talk anything Neil Gaiman around here. Pick up the first issue, sort of based on the novel that he did, kind of new Neil Gaiman stories based on, obviously, the classic Norse myths that we all know and love. This is issue 6. Like I say, pick up that issue 1, and if you love Neil Gaiman, like every literate person does, you'll read the other 5. That's your Dark Horse book of the week. Deep Beyond is my Image book of the week, because I love sci-fi stuff. There's a reprint to the first issue out this week. This is issue number 2. Show you a little bit of the art. Fun stuff, quality stuff. Everybody should have an Image book on their list. I'm really crazy about all the science fiction that's in comics right now. Maybe about 10 years ago, comics really started not getting away from superheroes, but giving us much more than superheroes, which has been a lot of fun. And Image kind of leads that charge. And there was a big wave of horror comics, and there still is, because horror is a huge genre of comics. But there's a lot more and more science fiction coming around all the time, which is a lot of fun. Red Sonja Superpowers is my Dynamite book of the week. It's a really great book to dive into. One, because Red Sonja is a great character. Obviously, everybody knows the barbarian action of Red Sonja, but you might not know the Superpowers. Project Superpowers is a book that Dynamite does based on a bunch of Golden Age heroes that have gone to public domain. And that's really fun. They're saving those heroes from obscurity and busting them out for new generations. And as a fan of old comics, I really appreciate that. There are, thousands and thousands of Golden Age characters that have gone to the abyss. And it's really great to see them handed to new writers and new artists and given new life. And so you can check some of those out in Red Sonja Superpowers. Check some out in Vampirella Dark Powers, I think it's called. Bloodshot is my Valiant book of the week, because Valiant's awesome. This is the last issue. Sadly, I've been talking a lot about first issues, a couple more first issues to talk about, but this is your last issue of Bloodshot. I mentioned it, I guess, to give you the heads up to be on the lookout for the trade paperback. Bloodshot, Valiant does a bunch of great books. Great concepts, great stories, solid art. Love me some Bloodshot. If you love the 90s Valiant stuff, it's sort of the character but new and different, new origins, new universe, all that kind of thing. Exo, Bloodshot, Shadow Man is right around the corner. They're going to give us a new Shadow Man #1, which is a lot of fun. Valiant is a really neat mix of superhero action and science fiction. Everybody out in the real world thinks that superhero is a genre, and that's not true. Superheroes are just characters. What you do with the hero is the genre. And like I say, Bloodshot is mostly, kind of just an action film starring a superhero. But of course, there's, nanites and sci-fi elements in there. And that's what Valiant does. Exo Manowar is very similar. It's an action movie starring a superhero that has elements of science fiction in it. Shadow Man is a sort of a film noir horror story starring a superhero. So that's really cool. Anywho, as I say, everybody should have a Valiant book on their list, and Bloodshot's a great place to start. Couple more just to round it out. 2 more first issues. Proctor Valley Road from Boom Studios. Love me some Boom Studios. This one's written by Grant Morrison. You love Grant Morrison. Always saying there's so much more to comics than the capes and all that kind of stuff. I know we're your one-stop shop for superheroes. I love my Marvel books. I love my DC stuff. But there's, again, so much more to comics. And anything that's written by Grant Morrison is worth checking out the first issue. So pick up some Proctor Valley Road. And last but not least, Blade Runner Origins. As I say, love me some sci-fi. There's a huge explosion of sci-fi comics these days. Can't go wrong with an Art Germ Blade Runner cover. This is the now second Blade Runner book. There's Blade Runner 2019, which is the second volume of the main series. And now there's Blade Runner Origins. You can pick up Blade Runner 2029 number 3, grab all 3 issues of that at the same time, and then pick up Origins. You love the movie. You love classic sci-fi. These are new stories with new characters taking place in that Blade Runner universe. And that's why I love it so much and why I've been hyping it up so much. Again, we all love Blade Runner. We all love anything Harrison Ford. But Blade Runner 2019 introduced us to a new character in that universe, which was awesome. That ran 10 or 12 issues. And then now we've got Blade Runner 2029. And again, here's Blade Runner Origins. So if you love the series like I do, pick up Origins number 1. If you don't know anything about Blade Runner, pick up Origins number 1. Like I say, just a great time to be a sci-fi fan in comics. And it's a great time to just try out lots of stuff. Lots of cool first issues. I guess the last thing, since I've got a minute, I'll talk of this guy. Wanted to mention Dark Empire. This is the name's really long. Star Wars Epic Collection, New Republic, Volume 5. And you might not have the other 4 volumes, and it doesn't really matter because this is the only one we need. This is Dark Empire, Star Wars Dark Empire. And if you read my little blurb in the newsletter, I'll repeat myself. This is one of the most important Star Wars anythings ever made, and that's not an overstatement. I'm serious as a heart attack, and I'll tell you the story. This whole graphic novel contains Dark Empire Part 1, Dark Empire 1 through 6, Dark Empire 2, 1 through 6, Empire's End 1 and 2, and then a whole bunch of miscellaneous stuff. Okay, so what's up with this? This is the first book ever produced from Dark Horse when Marvel gave up the Star Wars license long, long ago after issue 107 of their original run. Lucasfilm found Dark Horse Comics and gave them the license to do Star Wars comics. Dark Horse launched doing all kinds of licensed property stuff, mostly science fiction, Star Wars, Alien, Predator, RoboCop, and they did a phenomenal job with each and every bit of it. And when they launched Star Wars Dark Empire, it was huge. I have to take you back a minute. You have to understand that in 1990, Star Wars was dead. And I mean dead. And I know that's hard for a lot of us to believe, but it was true. There was a reason Marvel gave up the license, because it was more expensive than it was worth. The book wasn't selling, which is why they canceled it. It had been years since Return of the Jedi, and all those kids had grown up, and nobody was reading Star Wars. Nobody cared about Star Wars. It's just how it is. But then here came Dark Empire. And it was something of the sequel to Return of the Jedi. This was the first time you had seen Luke and Leia and the gang in new stories in the Star Wars universe after Return of the Jedi. And Luke is following in his father's footsteps, and it means bad things for the galaxy. And like I say, this book was huge, and it brought Star Wars back. It put Dark Horse Comics on the map. It made Dark Horse huge. It made Star Wars a really big deal in comics again. Got the fan base churning again. And in 200% honesty, it's a big reason why Lucas saw the fan base excited again, and he got the original movies out, and it gave him a platform to start talking about Phantom Menace and all these other things. So like I say, when this book came out, Star Wars was dead, and this really resuscitated Star Wars because it's a great, great book, great stories and great art. There was a toy line. There was all kinds of stuff. If you're 100 years old like me, you remember the time of Dark Empire and what a big, big deal it was. So obviously Dark Horse lost the license years ago, got back to Marvel, since Marvel is, of course, owned by Disney, who owns Star Wars. Marvel's getting all that Dark Horse stuff back out in these giant trade paperbacks. So don't worry that you don't have volume 1 through 4. Pick up volume 5, Dark Empire, and give this a read. Particularly if you love Star Wars. If you're not a huge Star Wars fan, I can still recommend the current Marvel Star Wars stuff because it's just great sci-fi. But if you are a big Star Wars fan and you've never read Dark Empire, you're really missing out. Obviously, none of it's canon anymore. Maybe it never was, but it's a great, great story. And like I say, for Star Wars fans, it's a moment in time that is hugely, hugely important and hugely critical. And I mean, that's just some cool art. That's just some cool Star Wars art right there. Love me all of these Star Wars epics. Obviously, they do cross the timeline, run the gamut of everything. Check out the blurbs of what's in each and every one of them, but you got to have the Dark Empire one. Really, really great stuff. Well, that's all the books that I've got. That's a whole slew of things from this week. As I start to wrap it up again, give me your questions, your comments, your queries. What are you reading? What are you liking to read? What are you looking forward to? You can go to black-cat-comics.com, click on shop, click on new this week, take a look at all the books I've been talking about, take a look at all these other books that are behind me, click on new last week if there was anything you might have missed from last week. Sign up for the newsletter and you'll get that every Wednesday morning. When you get the newsletter, you can read all about store info. We've got reviews. Francis and I write reviews for the books that are out that week, so you can see what we're excited about reading. When you get the newsletter, you know the store's live, so you can go to black-cat-comics.com, click on shop, get your books for the week, pick them up curbside or get them shipped out to you, read them, tune back in on Saturday for Comic Shop Talk Live. We hang out, we talk about them, because that's what I do. I keep you connected to the comic book community. That's all I got for you for this week. Again, go to black-cat-comics.com and pick up your copy of Black Cat Chronicles #1, The Greyfriars Cemetery. Get them before they're gone. This is first printing of the first issue of our comic, and we're really jazzed about it. Go to black-cat-comics.com, go to black-cat-publishing.com and pick one up, because it's awesome. You're going to want one. That's all we got for you for this week. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.